Good afternoon, Exeter. For this week's report, a recap of the town elections. Fugitive goats arrested by Exeter Police Department. And for St. Patrick's Day, we learn more about Irish immigrants with the Exeter Historical Society. I'm your host, Garrett Prey, and this is the Exeter Biweekly Report. Let's get started. The town and SAU 16 elections were held last Tuesday on March 8th. Bob Glowacki has a recap.
In 2021, only 10% of registered voters came out to the polls, totaling 1,443 ballots. This year, the town election saw 3,090 ballots cast, for a 27% participation rate out of 11,318 registered voters.
And shocked too. I didn't expect there to be quite a crowd. I thought I came at the right time, after lunch and before dinner, and I was amazed at how many people showed up. But there's so many, important warrants that are on the ballot. So, but I've never seen a turnout and the lines like this.
It's important to do. I'm really glad that people are out here. They're campaigning. They're passionate. I may radically disagree with some of them, but I'm still glad they're here, and I'm glad folks brought their kids and made the time because it's an important thing.
The articles in support of purchasing 10 Hampton Road and the closing of half of Swayze Parkway to vehicles were among those that passed. Only 2 articles did not get voter approval. The first article that failed to pass was Article 22, relating to design work on a new garage at the Public Works Complex. The other was a citizen's petition, Article 34, to do work on Washington Street. The residents also voted in new members for various school boards and re-elected Nico Papakonstantis and Julie Gilman to the Select Board. Nancy Belanger was elected for a 1-year term to fill the seat left vacant by the resignation of Darrell Brown. At their first Select Board meeting after the election, new elected officials were sworn in by the town clerk, Andy Kohler. Also sworn in at the meeting was Exeter's new Deputy Police Chief, Timothy Josh McCain. Deputy Chief McCain is no stranger to the Exeter Police Department. He began his career in Exeter in 2001 after spending 4 years in the Marines. A few years later, he moved on to Portsmouth Police Department, where he spent the last 18 years and most recently served as a lieutenant. You can view the election results by going to the town website under Community and visit the elections page at exeternh.gov/elections.
The Exeter Police Department had to rein in some repeated offenders last week. Here's more on the story of the Runaway Goats. While everyone was at the polls on Election Day, there were 2 goats that made a daring escape and tried running away up Portsmouth Avenue, where Exeter Police apprehended and made headlines.
So when it was going over the air, at first it was sheep. We thought it was sheep for a second, and then it got quickly changed, it's goats. And I just looked at my FTO, Ingenito, and I was like, you guys have goats in Exeter? So I was very shocked. I'm like, okay, I knew exactly where it was, at Portsmouth Ave. So we get there. There was a guy actually walking with his dog, and the goats were kind of trying to headbutt him and see what's kind of going on. So we made initial contact with them. They looked like they were trying to jaywalk across the street. That's what we pulled them over for. I picked them up, put them in the cruiser, and took them back to the PD. Some of the guys here wanted to check out the goats again because it's happened before apparently. Found out where the person lived and her name, and I left her a voicemail. She didn't answer. Then we just went to her house, and as she was getting into her vehicle to come pick up her goats, we already pulled in and we're like, we have them, we're all set, and I helped her bring them back to the pen. Maybe because of the high winds, that's probably why the pen opened up. We don't have an animal control officer anymore. Usually just call us and we'll take care of it.
All right.
Hopefully they're not vicious goats or vicious dogs. But yeah, they were super friendly when I went up to them. They licked my ear. As soon as I picked it up, it was very, very friendly.
All right. Did they try to chew on the back seat when you guys had them in the car?
No, one was actually super calm. The other one was stomping around trying to figure out what was going on. It was pretty funny.
Seeing as yesterday was St. Patrick's Day, we spoke with Barbara Ramkumis to learn more about the history of Exeter's Irish immigrants.
We first see Irish immigrants moving into town in the 1850s, and the way we track it is by using the census data. The 1850 census shows that just over 100 people from Ireland had moved into town. They always track where the person is born, and that's how we're looking at it. Before that, really not any Irish in town. The potato famine hit Ireland in the 1840s, and so it just people that came after that. Our original assumption was that Irish immigrants arrived in town because they wanted to work in the textile mill in the downtown, the Exeter Manufacturing Company. But when you look at the census data, it doesn't show that. It shows that the Irish who did arrive tended to be more women than men, and all generally single, so we didn't find families coming over very often. And of those people who were here, the women tended to drift into domestic work, so they were working as housemaids and cooks, housekeepers, and the men tended to work as farm laborers or just as general laborers, day laborers as they were called. They'd be hired to do just about anything that was needed, building roads or digging ditches or moving materials. A lot of people worked down on the shipyard, not the shipyards, but down on the docks, just bringing materials in. There's a lot of hauling that had to be done back then. So a lot of Irish folks did that. The 1860 census shows a similar pattern. We're almost at double the number of Irish immigrants at that time period, but it's still the same pattern. Mostly single people, more women than men, and mostly they are working in domestic labor or general labor, so we don't find people in the factories. I think there's maybe a few people who are working in the Exeter Manufacturing Company. The mill tended to hire people from England or from Scotland at that point in time, where there was more of a textile industry, so they considered those folks to be skilled laborers.
That does it for this week's report. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to help spread the word. We'll be back on April 1st with more local news and information. For Exeter TV, I'm Garrett Prey, and this has been the Exeter Biweekly Report. Thank you everyone for watching, and have a great weekend.